What's up, everybody? Back for another Honkai Star Rail video. In this video, we are going to talk about teams, or more so units, that are going to be good for Acheron. Now, there are a few criterias that the unit needs to meet in order to be considered a perfect match, right? Now, this is going to be, do they apply debuffs? Because every time you inflict a debuff, Acheron gets a point for her ultimate. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't work quite as you might think. If you use a Sampo skill and you bounce and you get like 5 wind shears or whatever, it's not going to give you 5 points. That'd be a little broken. I'd be like, yeah, yo, Sampo is godly, right? But unfortunately, it's not how it works. When they attack or are attacked or whatever would trigger a debuff, in that instance, it's one stack because they inflicted debuffs, right? So keep that in mind. So if they inflict a debuff, right, and they are Nihility, right, obviously general support is going to be general support. They're going to be good regardless. Fushuan is going to be good because she keeps the team alive regardless of who you're really running. Now, of course, let's get into the video. So the characters that I think are a perfect match and complement Acheron pretty well are going to be Black Swan. Wow, shocker. They love pairing these two together in just about any media that they're in. Shout out to the dance. 𝐀𝐂𝐇𝐄𝐑𝐎𝐍, Gwenhyphen, Silverwolf, and a surprise visit from the MC. Now, this is supposed to represent the Fire MC, not the physical MC. Unfortunately, both MCs on this tier list are in the physical mode, so keep that in mind. I'm talking about the Fire MC. The reason these units are a perfect match is because all of them but the Fire MC are Nihility, so they help with Acheron doing more damage, because if you have one or two Nihility characters on the team, she does more damage, right? Now, they also inflict debuffs, right? Silverwolf can just literally breathe and you do a debuff, right? Plus, weakness break with the whole giving them an elemental weakness. I know Acheron kind of goes crazy and doesn't really care about that kind of stuff, especially with her ultimate, but this can help you with other units on your team. Gwenhyphen increases damage dealt with Fire Kiss, very nice, and can apply burn, so more debuffs, right? Helps with more damage. 𝐀𝐂𝐇𝐄𝐑𝐎𝐍, Defense Shred goes crazy. She has, I think on E4 is the ice resistance on her skill, so if you have to use her skill to remove a buff on the enemy, you're still applying a debuff. And then if you're on the Luca Lycone, her basic attack will also inflict a debuff, so you're good there. Then Black Swan, she like breathes or looks or blinks or falls asleep or just does anything, applies debuffs, so you're pretty much good there. Plus she does a good amount of damage, so she can kind of be like a sub DPS in sorts. Very, very good. Now you might be wondering, why the hell is the Fire MC here? Now the Fire MC actually applies a debuff with a taunt, and if you give him Trend of the Universal Market, you are good to go, because every time you get hit, that is going to burn the enemy and apply one debuff. So if the enemy hits you a bunch, you're pretty much just going to get Acheron ult for free. Plus, the Fire MC provides shields to the allies of your team, and that's pretty good because it helps with sustain. It's not anything too crazy, but it is rather helpful. Shout out to the Fire MC. Now, we're going to get into more generic support. These units do not help Acheron gain ult because they don't do debuffs, and they are Nihility. Well, kinda. Bronya and Sparkle technically help because they action advance Acheron so she can attack more, but we're still going to put them in generic support. So the units in generic support are going to be these guys. I'll go over them afterwards. You and you and you and technically you. Okay, so I guess I'll group them together, right? So Bronya, Sparkle, and Jeopard, right? Jeopard technically applies a debuff when he freezes, right? But unfortunately for Jeopard, the freeze can be rather inconsistent unless you build him with a lot of effect hit res. And a lot of people just like to do defense for the shield. And he's probably not the best sustain unit, but we'll put him up here because he does actually, provide a freeze. So I guess I'll put him in the front just because of that. Bronya and Sparkle, like I said, action advance, crit damage. Sparkle gives skill points. Bronya cleanses, right? Pick whoever you want for the occasion or whoever you're not using on your second team. But they're both really good. Runmei helps with break effect. Runmei is just insane. Speed, all that stuff. What more can you really ask for? Fushuan, if you used her, you know, right? Damage mitigation, slight healing, gives crit rate. Good to go, right? Topaz, sleeper, right? I want to test this so badly because I obviously Haven't seen too much gameplay on Acheron because she's not out and only so many people can use her with like the whole Consecrator thing. But Acheron's ult counts as a follow-up attack, right? If you have her E6, everything counts as a follow-up attack. Topaz, boost, follow-up attack, damage. So I kind of want to see how crazy they are together. They might not be anything special and she might not even be good, but I have faith. I'm putting Topaz with the rest of the supports, right? Adventuring, we don't have his full kit, but he looks like an insane shielder, so he's getting put here. If you're upset about that, it is what it is. Luocha, massive heals. Don't say too much about that. And then Hanya. Hanya's good. A lot of people like to downplay her because she's a 4-star. She's like a mini Sparkle. She gives attack speed. She gives skill points. Unfortunately, from what I have tested with Ratio's kit, it's going to look like Burden does not give Acheron a buff. And same thing goes with Clara's counter, right? And other stuff such as the Dr. Ratio Pillar, where they have like a debuff, quote unquote, but it's not actually a debuff. I wish these counted because that would make the Burden actually apply a debuff and would be pretty good for Acheron. I'd probably, maybe not put her in perfect match, but Hanya would definitely get a lot of bonus points because of that. But unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. Same with Topaz's Proof of Death, I think is it called. If it does work out like that though, I do apologize. I don't have Topaz to test it, but from what I've seen, it's not a true debuff, which does suck. Next up is Nihility tier. Now these units are there because they are Nihility characters and they apply debuffs. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Unfortunately, these characters aren't doing anything too crazy. Welt is probably going to be the best of the group just because he can kind of like help sustain a bit because he slows units, right? Kafka is just there for dot damage, and I guess they're, you know, both electric, so you can fight electric weak enemies. You know, maybe I'm reaching with that one. And then Luca and Sampo just do dot, but they are Nihility. They do inflict debuffs, so they work, right? They're kind of a budget option if you don't have the other ones built. The only reason with the budget option is Pela has been free once, and Gwenhyphen is going to be free twice, so you've had plenty of opportunity to grab both of them. I think the perfect free-to-play team is going to be Acheron, Gwenhyphen, Pela, and the Fire MC. That team should work out pretty well. I'll probably do a couple videos on that when I actually get my hands on the unit myself. But since those units are either free or easily accessible because they're 4-stars, kind of hurts Kafka and Welt's whole, you know, they're Nihility, they do debuffs, so they're kind of just good enough. Especially because Kafka is a limited 5-star, and Welt you could straight up just not ever get unless you pick them on the 300 selector. But if you have them built and you have the other characters built, you can see some success with them. Now, before I get into the can debuff, you have to know this is just units that can debuff, and if you just straight up don't have any other options for some reason, you could run them, but yeah, I wouldn't recommend it, right? These two characters are going to be Danheng and Serval. The reason they are in can debuff and not inconsistent debuffs is because Serval can apply shock pretty easily, and Danheng's skill has a 100% chance to slow, right? Now these are pretty consistent because you don't have to get an ult, you don't have a low chance, you just pretty much get them. I don't think I've ever seen my Danheng not hit the slow unless it's on certain boss enemies, so do keep that in mind. It's not a 100% chance, but it is a high chance, so I put them in can debuff, right? Now, for the inconsistent debuffs, we are going to have Galagar, Ratio, Hook, Himiko, and Asta. Now, Asta technically counts as generic support, however, her basic attack does have a 80% chance to burn, which can miss, but it's still a debuff, so I'm going to put her in inconsistent debuffs. It is what it is. You can use her as a support, I promise. It'll work out just fine, but, you know, she's kind of like best of both worlds, kind of, I guess. Himiko can also burn. Hook can burn. Dr. Ratio's skill can apply effect reduction, so you can debuff easier. And then Galagar lowers attack, but it's only after he ult. Pretty much these characters either have a chance or you need to ult with them, making them rather inconsistent. It's not like something like Danheng or Serval where they can kind of just do it at will, or some of the other Nihility characters that just breathe funny and then bam, they have a debuff. So Like I said, you can use these. In fact, Gallagher might have a pretty good spot on Acheron's team if you don't want to use the Fire MC. But to get a debuff, you do have to ult, and it's not something he's going to always have on him. Not saying the unit is bad, just saying debuff inconsistent. You want to keep that in mind. If you want to use him as a healer, go right ahead. He would just go here instead. Same with Asta. These two units just have debuffs, so technically they kind of rank higher than generic support if you want to look at it that way. But like I said, they do both, just not fully. Then we have the meme team. Now, technically, right? These units do apply a debuff. There's March 7th, Misha, and Yanqing at the bottom of the screen. That is because these units can freeze. And that's it. March freezes on her ult, Misha freezes on ult, and Yanqing on the follow-up attack, I'm pretty sure. Now, these units, while they can apply debuffs, are rather inconsistent because you need 2 ults and a follow-up attack, and Yanqing's follow-up attack might as well just not exist half the time. And I wish Yanqing was better. I'm not gonna lie, they could have made him cracked. Tears in my eyes. Anyway, don't run these units. Like, you can, but it's just a meme, right? You can see some success. So like I said, they can freeze. So I figured I would include them. But these are the units that I consider, good for Acheron. You can find success with just about any one of these units as long as you have a unit that is keeping you alive, or you just do enough damage to where that doesn't matter, right? Obviously, the units higher up on the list are going to fare a bit better and be better options than the ones lower on the list. And then generic support is just kind of, you pick your poison on what you have and it just works, right? Other than that, that'll be it for the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Of course, when Acheron drops, I'm going to be testing a lot of the units, and there will be summons. Might go for E2. Kind of have to see how my luck goes. But other than that, let me know what teams you guys are running in the comments, and of course, I'll catch you on the next one.